man, I can't get a break from these tariffs, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this. So sorry. So I go to bed last night, and I saw that we hit Canada with 35% tariffs, and I swear we can't get away from this insane economic policy that we currently are having in this country. Canada is the U.S.'s number 2 trading partner and happens to be Indiana's number 2 trading partner. And I'll put this up. This is a Canadian United States partners, allies thing, and Indiana and Canadian economy are integrated economies. So Indiana, we export $13.9 billion annually to Canada. So Canada buys our agricultural products, our chemical products, our equipment and machinery, forest products, minerals and metals, plastic and rubbers, transportation and other. Indiana exports $715 million in services to Canada. Services, okay? Travel, business, charge for use of intellectual property, insurance services, maintenance and repair services. So then you go to our top Indiana goods exports to Canada. What we send to Canada: motor vehicle parts, automobiles, trucks, plastic parts, optical, medical, and precision instruments, engines and turbines, iron and steel alloys, and semi-finished products, iron and steel tubes, pipes, sheets, telephones and AV recording equipment, pharmaceutical products. So Canada being our number 2 partner, it helps our businesses grow. We are exporting in our own state $13.9 billion to Canada. So these Canadians want they want our Indiana products. So what do we get? In Indiana, we have a trade surplus with Canada, and overall the U.S. it's pretty even. We might have a slight deficit with them, and again, I tell you, when I say deficit, in these terms, I don't look at them as deficits, because trade, again, as I mentioned, is not a zero-sum game. So what we import from Canada: pharmaceutical products, iron and steel alloys, motor vehicle parts, fertilizers, copper and copper articles. Remember, copper is now at 50% starting August 1st. Plastic and plastic articles, aluminum and aluminum articles, and that I believe is at 25% aluminum tariffs right now. Pasta, bread, and cereal preparations, engines and turbines, iron and steel tubes, pipes, and sheet. So it looks like we have a lot of products going back and forth in trade. That's good. We want open trade. And I'm going to put the letter that the president put up to Canada. And what I find funny about this letter, and this might be one of my shorter videos. I just got back from the gym. I got to get ready for work. We have a free trade agreement with Canada. We originally had NAFTA in the 90s, North American Free Trade Agreement, and Trump didn't like that. Fine. So when he came in office the first place, he replaced it with a USMCA, United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. So some of the things the president's ranting about, and in the letter I'll put up, complaining about this 400% tariff on milk that Canada gets to charge our dairy farms. Trump let that happen. He put that in the bill, in the trade agreement, and that has never been used. That is only if Canada imports X amount of gallons or liters or how much milk they import. And they have not once used it yet, because they have not imported that much milk to need to use that. So our tariff policy is based on the whims of someone who does not seem to understand how economies work and what trading is like. He complains about Canadian oil, because we import Canadian oil, and there's a reason for that. Our refineries use their oil. We don't really use the oil we produce in America. It does not usually get refined here in America. We actually are a net exporter of oil. And if I can find that graph, I'll put it up. U.S. is a net exporter of energy. So we're importing energy from Canada. There's a reason why. So the tariffs, I think, on Canadian energy is going to be 10%. I don't know if they're going to change the fertilizer tariffs, but that's going to hurt farmers. Canada buys from Indiana alone, Canada imports 6% of their agriculture from us. That's going to hurt farmers if they retaliate. And I'm sure they will. Why would nobody, if you punch somebody in the face, they're probably going to punch you back at some point. It's been enough back and forth that we have to expect some type of retaliation in this nonsensical war the president's putting us in for no good reason. I cannot see one reason why we're doing this. Even if you want to bring jobs back, there's a much better way to go about doing this and work with Congress, come up with some legislation to bring those jobs back. But we're post-industrial in this country. We are no longer an industrial country. We are more of a knowledge economy, where intellectual property is what we go with, and we're a service economy as well. So we're no longer we are not as much in a manufacturing country as we once were. And that has freed us up in this country to do so many great things. Look at the scientific advances we have come up with, because we have shifted away from some of these other types of economies we could be. So, and then on top of that, I'll find, if I can put it up, I will put it up. The baseline tariff that we have right now of 10% across the board for everything across the world. The president's talking about putting that up to 15 to 20%. So again, that is a tax. He's going to increase the tax we're already paying, because I believe they've said so far they brought in close to $300 billion in tariffs, or that's what they plan to bring in this year in tariffs money. They're making a big deal about this, but that's our money that we paid for products extra to the government to have the privilege of having those products, right? So now he's going to raise that possibly 5 to 10, 15 to 15% to 20% to have the privilege of buying the products that we want to buy. We are supposed to be a free market economy where I want to buy something, I should be able to go buy it without the government imposing an erroneous tax on me to do that. And again, I said the other day, if we were getting something out of this, if we were paying 10 to 15% flat tariff across everything, and we were getting a national health care system, we were getting a child health care system, or we were paying down the debt, I think most Americans would be, okay, that's something we're all doing it together. We're all paying this. We're all getting something out of this. But we're not. We're getting nothing from this except for we're losing the goodwill we have with the world. We're losing our soft power. I know, yes, we have a strong military, but you get more. Remember, there's that saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. We cannot go around demanding that we get something and say, well, we have a strong military. We're going to get what we want. You want to use soft power where people want to do things with you. People want to be around you. People want to be indulged, influenced by your culture and what you export worldwide as American culture. So this is not helping that either. And somebody's going to step in. It could be the European Union. It could be China. And, those are the top two really I can think of who would be able to step in and fill some of this void that we're leaving. So again, Canada is the U.S. and Indiana's number 2 trading partner. Indiana has a trade surplus with Canada. So this policy is going to hurt Indiana, especially because we have a trade surplus. What we sell to Canada is impacting our economy so well that there is a Indiana-Canadian site about how we're an integrated economy. And we signed in January 24. Indiana and Ontario signed a new memorandum of understanding. I'll read, and I already put it up, so I'll read it again. Eric Holcomb, Governor of Indiana, and Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, finalized a new memorandum of understanding to promote trade and attract investments. This is good for us, but now these tariff policies are going to hurt not just the U.S. but Indiana. It's going to hurt you here in Hancock County. It's going to hurt Marion County, Boone County. And remember, Hancock County is the second fastest growing county in Indiana. Boone is number 1. Hancock is number 2. So we're having a trade war, and there are going to be casualties, and it's going to be us. It's going to be us here in Indiana. Like I said in the other video about Brazil and the tariffs, we have a net. For us, it's a net benefit. They are on the other end, Brazil as well, on the deficit. We have a surplus with Brazil. We have a surplus with Canada. And yet these tariffs are going to hurt us and the surplus we have with with at least these two countries. And today he's probably going to announce the EU tariffs. And I'll make a video about the EU and what we do with them and what our trade is with them. But I mentioned it the other day. Trade is not a zero-sum game. If Canada gains something from our trading partnership, we are too. Just because they might, in some imaginary scenario, you don't see Canada mad that Indiana is gaining more from that trade relationship than they are. They seem to want to be more integrated with us in trading. So, see, trade is not a zero-sum game. Trade that we make with these countries is creating jobs here in Indiana. The less trade we do, the less jobs we're going to make, especially that we are a global economy. This is not a 1950s, 60s economy where, everything can be more localized and more national. It's more national of an economy. We trade with the world. We buy commodities that we use for inputs on the open market with the world. We want people to trade with us. We want them to come to us to trade. And this is going to make it harder. A 35% tariff on non-USMCA goods is going to hurt. It's going to hurt us. So think about that. Think about how these policies are not policies you would want to use, especially on people you have a good relationship with. You could debate the Chinese tariffs to a point, and I'm not going to do that today, but they are in a place where they want to be the dominant economy, and they have done some things that are intellectual property theft. So there is a time and place for tariffs to be used strategically, not as a blanket weapon against everybody, including people you consider allies. So I'll leave you with that because I got to get ready for work. Just get back from the gym. But maybe I'll make one video before I leave, one more about it depends what time the tariffs for Europe come out. And then if something major happens while I'm on vacation, I'll probably try to shoot something out. I like to usually just get away, if I can, when I can. I have that ability, and thankfully I'm privileged enough that I can do that. But again, you have a voice, use it.